So welcome, everybody, to our forum for the Olathe City Council at-large position. Thank you, Matt Schoonover, Wayne Janner, for joining us, the candidates. My name is Brian Geary, and I serve as the chair of the Olathe Chamber's Business to Government Advocacy Committee, and it's my honor to moderate today's forum. The Johnson County Public Policy Council is comprised of the 10 chambers of commerce in the Johnson County area. They developed today's questions, which focus on the business and community issues. We'll begin candidates speaking order alphabetically, and it will rotate throughout the forum back and forth. We'll start with the brief 3-minute opening statement by each of you, followed by our Q&A, which will be 1.5 minutes of response time from each of you, and then we'll end with a 2-minute closing statement from each of you. Due to time constraints, there are no follow-up questions, no formal rebuttal time, and no audience participation from any of you here. So, ready to go?
Sure.
All right. I will let Wayne Janner, if you would, please introduce yourself, give a brief background on yourself, any organizations you've been involved with, and why you feel qualified for this position.
Okay, will do. It's 3 minutes to challenge. There's a lot of layers. I've been around for a while. So I'm actually a native of Hutchinson, Kansas, graduated from Washburn University. It was my first job out of college that brought me to the Kansas City area, which was with Aldi. Spent 8 years with that firm a long time ago, back before the marketing department made them cool. But it was a great way to get out of college and create a work ethic. Eventually, I transferred over and began a real estate career in the latter part of 1994. So I have been a licensed realtor now for 29 years. In 2004, I started the Keller Williams franchise in Olathe. In a very short time, we grew to over 300 agents and are the most successful residential real estate office in Olathe and have been for quite a while by quite a margin. So real happy with the success of the organization. As I was running that organization in 2012, I actually switched gears and retired. I maintained ownership in the firm, but I took a job as a children's pastor. Did that for about 2.5 years at my home church, which was Indian Creek Community Church, now Hope Chapel. After that period of time, there was a time where my wife's health deteriorated and I had to return home. I did that for about 8 months. After she got better, I went to work for the Olathe School District. Worked as a para, working with special education kids. And it was then that my business partner in the real estate office persuaded me to return and help with coaching and consulting of other realtors. And so I came back, and that turned out to be a kind of a blessing in that about 10 days after I was ready to get started, the world shut down. And we went through COVID and everything that went through that. So that gave me an opportunity to help the leadership team go through that period, which was very beneficial for everyone. So I'm still involved in real estate. I still do coaching and consulting for experienced agents and helping them do their business, and still sell an occasional house to my close friends and acquaintances that I have. So that's the professional background. I am involved in the community. I'm a 1996 graduate of Leadership Olathe. It was a great experience, got me involved in what was going on in the city. About 3.5 years ago, I was appointed to the Olathe Planning Commission by Mayor John Bacon. I spent a couple of years in position, and then about 1.5 years ago, I was elected by my peers to become the chairman of the Planning Commission, and I've held that role for about 1.5 years, a little bit more now. So, that's my current involvement there, as well as the continued charity and volunteer work I do with the church, where we're still at. And it's just great to be a citizen in the town. I'm married, my wife Jean, and a son Zach, who is a freshman at Mid-American Nazarene University.
Thank you, Matt. Your opening 3-minute statement, please.
Well, thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here to join friends from the chamber. And Wayne, it's a pleasure to be sitting with you today. I am Matt Schoonover. I'm a husband and a father and a small business owner here in Olathe. I've lived here since 1992. Moved here when I was in 2nd grade and went to Meadow Lane Elementary when all around it was absolutely nothing but open fields. And so I have seen firsthand the dramatic growth that Olathe has enjoyed over the last several years. And I know a lot of that is due in part to the hard work of some of the people in this room. So thank you very much for your dedication to Olathe. In those roles as a husband, a father, and a small business owner, I think I have a perspective that is pretty unique, certainly, and certainly something that can be shared with the city council. My wife and I met when we were in high school together at Olathe North. We graduated in 2002, and then after college and law school, we moved to Phoenix and lived there for a few years and really enjoyed it. Phoenix has a lot to offer for young couples. But as soon as our son was born, we felt that urge to come home. As great as Phoenix was, it wasn't home. And we wanted to raise our family in a place with great schools, with great infrastructure, with great people that we could really call home. And so we moved back. And now my son is 9 and my daughter is 6. We go to Central Elementary just right here in downtown Olathe. And it's been a joy to see Olathe continue to grow, to see our schools continue to be strong. And I am running to make sure that as Oliver and Penny are my age, that when they're looking for a place to raise their families, that Olathe remains a great place to live. So thank you for this opportunity to speak and to present today, and happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you both. We'll move on to the question and answer session. You'll each have a minute and a half to respond to each question. So we'll start this one with Matt. You'll go first on this question. As a candidate, your top 3 policy issues, please.
Well, that's a great question. I've had a chance to think a lot about this, and I think my first policy issue that I would really like to see Olathe focus on would be helping our small businesses grow and thrive, to really create a community where small businesses want to establish themselves and open up shop. I'm an attorney. I work with small businesses every day, federal contractors, small business federal contractors every day. And so I see the benefits that these companies have and bring to their communities. And I think Olathe is a wonderful place for somebody to decide to open a business. But I think we can do more. I think we need to create small business incubators where local would-be small business owners can open up shop, can stay, can grow their business for a period of a year or two, can take advantage of some of the resources that exist locally as they develop their client base. I'd also like to see more done to help address traffic congestion, certainly going east-west across the city. If anybody's driven that lately, they know it continues to be a challenge, and we have the opportunities to invest in our infrastructure to make sure that we're addressing some of those issues as particularly we're growing on the western side of Olathe and expanding in that direction. And then finally, I'd like to see the city do more, quite frankly, in the area of mental health and substance abuse. It's certainly an issue that affects every family. It's affected me, it's affected my family, and it's affected our neighbors. And I think having more resources available to our citizens, to our residents, to help address some of these issues are going to be crucial going forward.
Thank you. Wayne, your top 3 policy issues.
Sure. You give some thought into this, but I think, like Matt and myself, we probably all have our little campaign materials with our 3 points on it, which a lot of those overlap to some topics we'll be getting into. For example, the first thing I have on my list is cutting taxes. And I know we're going to be spending some time talking about the budget, so I'm not going to invest a lot of time in getting into those details right now. The second thing I have on the list is visionary leadership, which kind of overflows into economic development. And I'm going to talk about that, later and now, because I think that's the role of the city council. When you look at economic development in the area, you look at what the chamber does, Tim McKee's leadership there, the city, and Michael Welks, our city manager. I mean, those are the boots on the ground. Those are the people that are getting things done. And I think as council people, we need to create vision that they can work with, that this is what we want the city to look like. And I've got a very specific idea that I've been talking about with some business leaders that I want to get into in detail today, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as far as the continued development downtown. So that was number 2 on my list, and number 3 on the list it is an easy one, really. And I put on there that support for our law enforcement and first responders, and I know many people may be watching this recorded, but today's 9/11. And there's really no further explanation needed of the importance of the people in that role. I have several friends, Major John Williams, Johnny Rowland, I remember Steve Sebasto, Aaron Feynman, Adam Bowser, Chief Butod, Chief DeGraffenreid, and my prayers have been with all of them today and every day, and what they do, being the heroes of our community. And I will always be a council person that has their back.
Great. Thank you both. And Wayne, you'll start with this second question first. Your views on the value that the Olathe citizens receive for their local tax dollars and changes you would propose to the city budget, if any.
Sure. Well, I would say as far as value, we always score well on the citizen reviews as far as the value that's brought to the table by the city. I don't think that's any different. We're outbeating a lot of people right now. And it's amazing, the number one thing I always hear about is trash. People just love our trash service, especially if they've come from out of the area. So that's kind of one of the feedback I get on that. As far as the budget, I think this is kind of where we go back and what I was mentioning as far as cutting taxes. We just recently passed a budget with a 1 mil decrease. That passed on the council of a vote from 6 to 1. The one no vote on the council was Councilman Gilmore. Who, in my opinion, when it comes down to budget and finance, he's the smartest guy on the council. One of the smartest guys I know. And I can tell you I would have voted no as well. The reason being is because there's more we could do. There's more we could do at the same time still maintaining a high level of community service or service to the community, of doing a high level of taking care of our employees, to adding the additional employees we have very easily. And I'll explain what I mean by that. We had a 15% appreciation in our values, so that's 15% increase in revenue. They did a 1 mil decrease, which is 4%. And both of those numbers are with change. So basically it came down to the budget pass was a 10% increase. In comparison, you look at storm and trash, or stormwater and trash and sewer, which is pretty much based on costs that are actually paid for directly by. They're not in the budget, they're paid directly by the consumers. Their increase is 5% and change, which also accounts for employee increases and also accounts for inflation. So why are we at 10? The point is we could have done more. We could have cut our taxes more without any cut of services and still being the exceptional city that we are. So that's why I would have voted no on the budget.
Thank you. Matt, your views on the Olathe citizens' value for what they receive for their local tax dollars, and what changes would you propose to the city budget, if any?
I thank you very much, and I agree. I think Olathians receive a tremendous value in their tax dollars for the services that we receive, and I think we being the city of Olathe have a tremendously professional and a tremendously responsible workforce. We have a very dedicated workforce that provides those city services to us, and I think we owe them a great deal of thanks. Now, obviously, these last several years for all of us have been very difficult when we see cost increases and everything that are making life more expensive. And so certainly when we look at the budget, I agree, I would love to pay less in taxes. But I think we also need to be realistic that when we talk about city services, when we talk about a city budget, that is something where that's an investment, where when we make cuts, we need to expect similar cuts in services that we receive. So rather than looking to make specific cuts to the budget, my approach will be to identify efficiencies that we can look for and make sure that we're spending our tax dollars as wisely as we possibly can. I think it's a great thing that we received the 1 mil decrease in our property taxes. However, a lot of our general revenue, most of our general revenue, I believe it's over 50%, comes from sales taxes. And so that relief might not be as impactful on the city bottom line. But on city council, I will look to make sure that we are spending each dollar appropriately and wisely.
Thank you. Matt, you'll start this next question. The Olathe development has outpaced many of the other Johnson County communities, as we know. How would you help continue this high-quality growth in Olathe, and what role do you think the City Council has in economic development and bringing jobs and capital investment?
I think the City Council plays a tremendous role in bringing investment into Olathe. And, it's a great time to live in Kansas City. It's a great time to live in Olathe. And as the area continues to grow, the metro at large, I think, continues to grow. Olathe really is well positioned to be a leader in that growth regionally. We have the Panasonic plant coming out west. We have the new airport up north and some additional data centers up north. We have development in South Olathe that's coming along. And so certainly when we look towards how Kansas City itself is developing, Olathe needs to play a leadership role in that growth, and the City Council needs to be front and center, leading that charge to make sure that we are adopting policies that encourage, as I mentioned, small business growth and development, that encourage families to move to Olathe and want to send their kids to school here and buy homes here. And so if we have appropriate policies on the council, I think certainly we will continue to be a leader in that regard.
Thank you. Wayne, your thoughts on how we continue the high-quality growth in the area and economic development role that the city should play?
Sure. And I think a large part of that is the chamber. And the Economic Development Department within the office has done an exceptional job, and we want to continue and support that more. We've done a good job of having a mix of both warehouse, commercial, and residential development, and we need to keep that balance going. That's where we are benefiting from and growing, because not only are we the second largest city in the county, but we got more space left than anyone else. So we're going to be able to continue with that and make the most of that. And that's why we've done such a good job with the comprehensive plan at directing that, on what that looks like. And after the election season, the 10-year review of that comprehensive plan is going to come around again. And, we as council members are going to be involved with that, planning commission members, as well as members of the community. And we can take a look at it and make sure that we're doing what's best for Olathe. And members, there will be public hearing sessions where the community can come in and make input on those things as well, so we can make sure that we're going in a direction that not only is driven by the city council, but the actual citizens have a say in what we're doing there and doing the best for what's Olathe and what that's going to be the best benefit for us.
Great, thank you. What do you find is the city's role and the city council role in the metro area issues that come up?
Sure. There's going to be a lot of things like that come up, and I think we need to, the most important thing we look at is what's going to be the plan for Olathe. When you think about metro-wide issues, Johnson County is unique in that we have several different communities, whereas the Missouri side has much fewer and much larger. So we need to make sure that we have a voice and join and putting forth what's going to be the best thing. When I think about metro area development, let's take for example Mayor Quentin Lucas, the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri. I'm pretty sure that as he's defining what he wants to see for the metro area, that one of the questions that's not on his list is this program good for Olathe? We need to be the ones asking that question. We need to make sure that if there are metro-wide initiatives, are they good for Olathe? We want to make sure that our community needs are our focus. We want to be a good neighbor. We want to participate in wherever we can, but we're not going to agree on everything. I'm sure the folks on the Missouri side don't want to have a discussion about Arrowhead being on the Kansas side of the state line, but we're going to have that discussion. So we need to always decide on what's going to be best for our community, our county, and the Olathe citizens.
Thank you, Matt. Your thoughts on the city's role within the metro-wide area issues, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as I touched on just a moment ago, it's a great time to live in Kansas City, and it's a great time to live in Olathe. Certainly, as we are seeing Kansas City grow and develop, Olathe is right at the heart of that. I think we are certainly well positioned to help Kansas City really kind of become that next level city that we all know and hope Kansas City will become. I mean, when we look at some of the problems that are facing our area, they do not just stop at Olathe's borders. When we talk about transportation issues, developing a true regional transportation plan to make it easier to get from one side of the metro to the other, I think is certainly something that we need to look at and see how are we really going to be doing this over the next several years to a decade. In addition, when we talk about some of these economic incentives that a lot of cities offer, I think that they certainly are, as of right now, a great way to spur economic investment in cities. But we've also seen, for example, Kansas and Missouri call a truce to the border war and say we're going to stop incentivizing somebody from just moving a couple of blocks across the state line. And I think that type of agreement shows that if we cooperate and if we work together with say the other cities in Johnson County, Overland Park, Lenexa, Shawnee, some of these cities, that we can really start to focus more on economic growth for the area.
Great, thank you. Matt, you'll start with this one. What do you think are the three greatest opportunities or challenges for the Olathe economy in the next 10 years, and how would you capitalize on those?
Sure. I think a lot of the opportunities or a lot of the challenges that we have right now are kind of happy consequences from the dramatic growth that we have seen over the last several years. A few weeks ago, I was sitting in a city council meeting, and they were discussing wastewater treatment and stormwater treatment. And of course, one of the things that they discussed is, I think right now we're on about a 200-year cycle for replacing our water lines, our sewer lines. But if we don't implement the CIP that they were discussing, then it's more like a 600-year replacement cycle. So that's all a consequence of Olathe's growth, from decades ago. And so how do we continue to support, to modernize our city while also growing at the same time? I think understanding how we can invest in infrastructure problems to address some of those issues certainly is one of the biggest challenges. Along those lines, affordable housing continues to be a major issue, not only in Olathe, but of course regionally and nationally as well. And I think some of these problems show that we really can be leaders to help craft solutions. And then finally, I would say we have to do more, as I mentioned at the outset, to support small businesses. We have to support the jobs that small businesses bring, particularly because our tax base is so dependent on sales tax revenue.
All right, thank you. Wayne, your three greatest opportunities or challenges for the Olathe economy in the next 10 years, and how you would capitalize on that.
Sure. Well, I think this is where my background of being in real estate plays a big part in having a viewpoint of what that looks like. Because often the economy is driven by housing. And I think the opportunities are much greater than the challenges, barring that we don't have another pandemic. I think we are in a situation where things can go really well. And a lot of that is looking past what the press or the fear mongers want to try to tell us. And they're saying, oh, the real estate market has shut down, it's 6.5%, 7% to get a loan now. We're still about 0.75 of a point lower than the 30-year average for mortgages. This is not unusual. the market will adjust to that, and I, even if we go up another half to a point, which is the maximum that I see happening, I don't see it having a burden on the opportunity for economic growth. I think it will be driven, and once the market adjusts to that, I think in the next 12 to 18 months, we are going to have a surge in the housing industry, which drives all the other things as well. Because if we have a success in the housing industry, the ability to do other things, whether it be addressing, big traffic projects, whether it be addressing mental health, whether it be addressing affordable housing, whatever it might be, when you have growth, the opportunities present themselves for doing more. And that's where I think we're headed.
Great, thank you. Wayne, you'll start with this one. What do you believe most distinguishes you from your opponent in this race, making you the best suited to serve?
Yeah, I thought about this, and I want to do away because I don't want to throw Matt under the bus. Because when I look at it, so rather than do that, I'm going to compare myself with me in 2021. In 2021, I ran for city council, the Ward 3 race. I lost a close race to Lietta Felter. And I look back at that point in time, I had been on the planning commission for a couple of years, and it had really piqued my interest to have a passion to want to serve in Olathe and to make a difference. Since that election, I was elected by my peers to become the chairman of the planning commission. So over the last 2 years, I've had the opportunity to work even closer with other members of the Planning Commission that have a wide range of experience between them. I've had the opportunity to work with city staff closely on a regular basis about the growth in Olathe and what's going on, as well as working closely with all of the members of the city council to help learn that direction here. And I can tell you without question, I am a far better candidate in 2023 than I was in 2021. And, Matt, I've met is a great guy. I mean, I think we could easily be friends. He's very smart. He's very talented. I would not be surprised at all if he holds a leadership position in this city at some point in time. I wouldn't blink an eye. It would not surprise me at all. I do think my fantasy football team is probably better, but
I can assure you it is.
But the position of at-large representing the entire city on the city council of Olathe is not where you start. And it takes a certain level of experience and being in the weeds and learning more about the operation of the city, which I think I bring to the table, and that's why I think I'm a better candidate in 2023.
Thank you. Matt, what do you believe most distinguishes you from your opponent in this race, making you best suited to serve?
Thank you. And I'd like to start off with the same caveat that Wayne gave as well, and to say that, we've had the chance to speak with each other a few times, and it has been perfectly pleasant, perfectly cordial, which I really appreciate. So I certainly wouldn't want anything to make it sound like I was, saying anything but. I have a friend who, when I told him that I'm running for city council, he told me that his slogan his idea for my slogan should be "Make local politics boring again," and that's exactly how I feel. I am an outsider, as Wayne mentioned, but I think that perspective really does, quite frankly, help me in a lot of ways. Where if you look at our current city council right now, we don't see a lot of younger families that are really the core of Olathe and Olathe's growth represented on that council. And so I think that perspective, being a father to young children who is looking for Olathe to remain a great place for them to live, who will answer every question that comes before the city council with that frame in mind, is quite frankly what would set me apart as a candidate, would make me a good city councilman.
Great, thank you both. And that concludes our Q&A session here. We'll move on to our closing statements. And Matt, you'll start. You have 2 minutes for your closing statement, so it's yours.
Well, thank you very much. This has been a great opportunity to sit with friends, as I mentioned, from the chamber, and to discuss our visions for the city of Olathe. And I think it's a great time to live in Olathe. It remains a great time to live in Olathe. And that's been a difficult message for me as a challenger in this election to convey is listen, I'm not running because I think Olathe needs a bunch of change and we're going in the wrong direction. I'm running because I want to make sure that we continue down the path that we're going and that we are building for our future, for a future that's sustainable and inclusive for all of our children, to make sure that, as I mentioned, Olathe remains a great place for them to call home. And so if elected to the city council, that's exactly what I'll do, and that'll be my priority.
Thank you. Wayne, your 2-minute closing statement.
Sure. Well, thanks to the Chamber for having us here. It was a great opportunity to speak and to get this word out to everyone. Olathe has done great things, and we're in good shape. We're not a city that has great needs, but there's always room for growth, and I'm looking forward to being part of that. I think part of that is downtown. And I think taking downtown to the next level is important. We've done well with the library. It's great to see the Chamber back in downtown. The courthouse brings a lot to the table. I mean, we've done some things, but we're missing some things. Everybody wants a restaurant. I was talking to the director of the Chamber, and it's like, no, we need 6. We need more traffic to try to create a downtown district that is a place that people want to show up and go. It's an attraction. You look at other attractions, and as far as entertainment districts, you look at the successful ones like the Power and Light District. You look at Mass Street. It creates that walkable entertainment area. We don't have that in Olathe because, well, part of it's where the county seat. We got government buildings. We got attorney's office. We got title companies. They're not going anywhere. So we need to create that walkable entertainment district. And one of the things that I'm presenting and through the process of this campaign is my idea for what's called El Centro de Olathe, which is extending our city zoning south on Kansas Avenue, acquiring land through there and creating a place where locally owned Mexican restaurants can come and start their business. And we can create that restaurant row, maybe our own Southwest Boulevard, so to speak, highlight the Hispanic community in the area and kind of create that atmosphere of a walkable entertainment district. And I'll actually, throughout my campaign, watch my website, WayneForOlathe.com. I do have architectural drawings, which we'll be releasing by the end of the month, that might show what that would look like. And I know it'll go through a lot of changes, but that's the kind of visionary leadership that I'm going to bring to the council. New ideas. Let's take it to the next level. I look forward to your vote. Thank you.
Great, thank you both. This concludes our forum for this Olathe City Council Ward position, and I again want to say thank you to both Matt Schoonover and Wayne Janner for your participation in today's program. It's very helpful for our election process here. For more information about our candidates, both here and others we've had, there's videos and of the other candidate forums available and advanced voting details that you can find at www.votejoco.com. Please share this voter resource amongst your colleagues, family, friends. Again, www.votejoco.com. And on behalf of the Olathe Chamber of Commerce, again, thank you to everyone for taking advantage of this important opportunity to learn about the candidates. Wish both of you the best of luck on your campaigns. And again, thank you to both Wayne and Matt for taking part today. So thank you very much.